Hey everybody, it's Master Gallengeist here, bringing you my review for Doctor Strange Issue 1 2023. Yeah, and this is a great looking cover. I mean, it really captures what Doctor Strange is all about, like just craziness and everything. Now, granted, this is another kind of issue 1, so it is $4.99, but I think that this one did a good job of justifying that. It doesn't really screw over anything that's come before. It does a nice job of telling what's pretty much come before without just feeling like it's regurgitating and setting us up for the new adventures of Dr. Stephen Strange and Clea Strange as well. So, we pop in, we see Strange pretty much giving us a rundown of what's happened, him being alive again from being the Harvest Man, his enemies vanquished, him together with Clea again, and just making the most of it, which is great. And he's like, I got all the things a man could want, and there's a price for all these things, one which I gladly pay. Duty. And I like that, as he then gets back and says that the work never ends, and so I return to work. And him and Bats just out front, him levitating with a sign saying that the doctor is in. And that just really encapsulates Doctor Strange in like 2 pages like that. I'm like, alright. So let's see what's kind of going on. And then, of course, he says he's got to dress the part, pretty much talking about being a consulting doctor and explaining the kind of concept to Clea. And confronted with an illness, you go to a doctor to find out what's wrong. But when you're confronted with magic, then it is Doctor Strange who you consult. He's got colleagues, costume heroes, and the like. Magic confounds them, and in his absence, the magical dangers have only grown more bold, more dangerous. So he opens his doors to those who require their aid, laudable, as Clea comments, and then says, didn't Moon Knight do just that? Divorce! Oh, their banter is so good, and I love kind of seeing it. So then we go into a very interesting thing where we go through the days of the week. Him getting together with Spider-Man, and I really like that dovetails into what we've been seeing. Him saying that Spider-Man is here almost before the ink on the sign is dry on his sign, and he's like, appreciate this, Doc. Not a lot of people want to talk to me right now. Well, I have been dead for a not insignificant amount of time, Peter. Allow me the time to get caught up. Haha, please don't. And I love this. He's like, he's had some difficulties. Seems worse than usual. If he needs to speak with me about them, I will listen. A doctor's duty of care takes many forms. I'm like, yay, Strange. That's cool. And he's like, what help can I offer for you, Peter? And then he evidently found like a demon doing a 3-card Monty thing, stealing souls, and thinks that the demon took his soul. So Strange goes out to kind of straighten that out. Tuesday, he makes house call to Luke Cage and says like, oh, should I call you Luke or Mayor Cage? It's like, Luke will do. It's not like we don't go way back. And he's like wondering what the hell is going on with the Warlord of Manhattan kind of thing, saying that would be Clea, and that he's got elves and trolls and whatnot coming out of the woodwork, calling him a false king and pretender to the throne. So him and Clea go down and pretty much talk to the magical denizens of New York to kind of straighten it out. And that's always great. Wednesday, he decides to check in with Black Cat, who evidently was pretty much put in charge of like attending to the duties that would have been necessary in his absence, where he pretty much she'd cataloged and kept stuff and taking care of things that he'd actually charged Spider-Man with, but he was going to do them, but then going through, he was in the hospital, now this whole thing, and she's like, well, there's like a dragon that we kind of have to take care of, feeding-wise and everything, in Central Park. And, of course, he helps her feed it and everything. And it's just kind of cool. It's like, oh, all right. I love seeing Strange. The great thing about this format that they do is that it checks in and sees Strange interacting with the vast Marvel universe. And now, granted, not complete like everywhere, but we see the ones that he usually deals with in New York and actually talking and seeing people that I haven't really seen him talk to, like Black Cat. I'm like, wow. And Thursday, of course, he goes for more personal business, pretty much taking Doom to task for what was going on, of him pretty much going after Clea. But it's interesting because she's like, "You are looking well, Stephen. It is good to see you again, old friend." And Stephen's like, "Friend, And then, of course, it's brought up. He's like, "Shall I chalk up your atrocious behavior at my home after my death to your grief, then?" I was like, "I merely came for what was mine, the office of Sorcerer Supreme. Do not pretend that without your meddling, I would not have been do it." And if I'm like, "Doom, because you couldn't foresee his meddling and actually account for it, that means it wasn't for yours." And then, of course, he's bringing up how he let Clea do that. He's like, Clea, you'll keep a civil tongue in your head when you speak to my wife in the future, Victor, or I will give you cause to regret it. Do you understand?" And he is not messing about. It's like, yeah. Let's see, now it's on Friday, doing pretty much telehealth, which is interesting. I love that. I love that kind of thing got kind of brought in. We see that, like, Bats is getting chased by Clea because he is acting like a dog. And it's funny because Daredevil is dealing with, like, a haunted garbage monster. He's like, "No, Daredevil, I am not certain why the exorcism didn't work. As I've told you several times, I'm neither a priest nor particularly Catholic." It's like, as Daredevil's running away. And I do like that, even though I don't know what's going on with Daredevil, I've seen enough solicitations and covers to see that this is accurate to kind of his situation of him being bearded and everything. He's like, "It's a haunted garbage monster. If an exorcism doesn't work, I really don't know what else to do here. Ordinarily, I would fly to your aid, but I'm already late to the peace summit between the Upper East Side goblins and the Lower East Side goblins. Hang on a moment." Clea's like, "Hey," he goes to Clea's like, "Hey, you wouldn't mind destroying a horrible garbage monster, would you?" And she's like, "Oh, you're not worried about sparing it, about reforming it, about making it better? It's ambulatory trash, Clea. My conscience is clear." But I love how they mess with each other on, like, their different lines and everything. And then she's like, "Inform Daredevil that the Warlord of Manhattan will be with him momentarily," as she continues to chase Bats around. And he's like, "All right, yeah." And then they go to Saturday, and he's like, "But let us not forget to rest. I am recently returned from the grave, and I have no intention of working myself into another one so soon." As we see him and Clea chilling. Yeah, that's awesome. And Bats, too. Just look at Bats. Just like, yeah. And then we see Sunday. Duty, however, never rests. As we then see a kind of situation that I'm like, ooh, okay. That evidently the UK government has entered into an agreement with the alien warlord Agamon. Agamon, yes. The so-called Lord of the Purple Dimension. The alien refugees of the city of Kalumesh, which had formerly existed off the coast of Cornwall before its destruction, will be deported to Agamon's realm, the portion of the Purple Dimension located in the Gobi Desert. It's like, ooh, that's a lot of kind of crazy shit. So we see them get to the Cornwall refugees and trying to figure out what's going on. We see that the UK government's pretty much like putting them into this portal. Clea's like, "This is bullshit. This is how you treat refugees on Earth, the weak and vulnerable, handing them to a warlord of Agamon, the enslaver." And the dude's like, "Uh-oh. What do you know what hell awaits these people on the other side of the portal?" He's like, "We're just doing what they're told." "How convenient for you. Purple Dimension, Kalumesh, what's the difference to them? What do you want us to do? I don't see you offering to put them up at yours." And then Strange does exactly that. It's like, yeah, that's why they're good. Then perhaps you shall. Bats, prepare to receive visitors. Do look after them, will you? And they're like, "What? So, welcome." As Bats is like, "Yeah, okay." And of course, so many had already gone through the portal, so they're like, "Let's go, fly to the rescue." No, we do not, Stephen. We are intruding on the domain of Agamon, of the Purple Dimension. We fly to war, as we then go to the Purple Dimension claimed territory, the Gobi Desert, as we hear, "Invaders!" And they just start, several more guests coming, Bats. As they're kind of like blasting through, we see kind of crazy magic going on. Of course, Agamon is like, "Why the hell are you invading my dimension, Clea Strange? Are you doing it because of your cursed mother Umar, Dormammu, or your fool husbands? In the years to come, when I consider your charged skull upon my mantle, Agamon, I shall remember your attempts at bravado. The Kalumeshi refugees. I will take possession of them now." I just love Clea. Love how she's just like, I don't like violence and everything like that, but the way she threatens him of like, "Yeah, after I've pretty much beaten you and I'm like, got your charged skull, eat it." And of course he's talking about they're his slaves, you must be joking. And of course she's like, do I appear to be a comedian? And then of course he's like, have done, Agamon. You are the Sorcerer Supreme of the Purple Dimension, but I am the Sorcerer Supreme of Earth. My wife is the Sorcerer Supreme of the Dark Dimension. Do you really wish to test us? Because I assure you, we will not be found wanting. And then he's like, whatever. And it's interesting, he's like, whatever, fine, release them. And of course he's like saying that Strange looks well, and he's like, do not think I've forgotten your role in my murder, Agamon. Charge me with your murder then, Stephen Strange, for it would appear that the supposed victim is particularly hale and hearty, standing before me. I often forgive, Agamon, but I rarely forget. And remember this, Strange, both of you. As he then kills one of the Kalameshi refugees. An object lesson. I will see you dead for that, damn you. Clea, our duty is to the living. We will bring Agamon to justice for his crimes, but we are surrounded by those we've sworn to protect. No, but Clea, please, I beg you. And of course she's talking about how Strange shies away from killing, but she doesn't. And we shall see one another again ever so soon. Goodbye, Strange, and Doctor Strange as well. Please send a diplomatic request next time you wish to visit my sovereign territory. As they then leave, it's like, you dick. And then we see them dealing with the kind of fallout with the refugees now in the Sanctum and everything. And Clea wants to know what they're going to do about him. She's talking about blood calling out for blood. He killed someone in front of us and we allowed it. I'm as aware of that as you are, Clea, but it is not so simple as teleporting into his palace and assassinating him. Oh, but it is. Clea, please, this is my world. This isn't the Dark Dimension. Then you would best think of how to make things in your world right, Stephen, because I will not countenance an innocent life taken merely to make a point. And of course, Stephen doesn't blame her, and he's angry with himself, and he has the same need for justice as well, but they're of different worlds. And of course the Eye of Agamotto is looking at him, he's like, don't look at me like that. But of course he's a doctor, not a warlord. He will not go unpunished, but his first duty is to care for those who need him. And of course he's trying to go after Clea, but then he's like, I'm not a warrior or an assassin, not as a righteous blade of vengeance, as a doctor. Yo, Doctor Strange. Hello, She-Hulk here. I've got a situation, as one of the refugees has the crystal ball. And he's like, yes, yes, hello, Miss Walters. Yes, that certainly does sound like a demon. Going through brimstone and everything like that. And then saying about how duty ever calls. And that's just a nice kind of end page for that portion that we get. Well, at that part. Then we get back to early Monday morning, the throne of Agamon. And of course, he's kind of thinking of how to kind of get back at them. But then he senses that someone intrudes. Show yourself. Wait, you? And then he says, Strange, but it's in a different kind of way than he was talking about Clea and Stephen. And then he screams, Strange, as something happens, and we see the end. It's like, what the hell? And the person he was with is like, what the hell? Then we go to a little kind of extra thing that we get, called Freak Out. Or evidently, it's the skies above Birmingham, the United Kingdom, the Psycho Zeppelin of the freaky Dr. Z, which does look freaky and looks pretty awesome, actually. Saying that, like, finally, Orgon accumulators at full, storm clouds at peak saturation, hallucinogenerators ready to charge the rainfalls with psychochemicals. And of course, talking about how Strange is back to life, Clea has chosen to reign within the Sanctum, and I decided to give them some much-needed and well-deserved privacy. As we see that the freaky Dr. Z is trying to do his shit and open people's consciousness. But aside from that, there's still much to write in the world of magic since Stephen died and everyone wants to do their part. And so I keep busy as we see that Wong has joined the Agents of Wand, but it's just him and Pandora right now. So it's kind of cool that started back up, and then Z sends his auto nurses to get them, and of course, Wong's just commenting on the fact that, yeah, the Agents of Wand, bit of hyperbole since it's just the two of us. Let's see. We've got a list of problems because of the dissolution of Wand, such as the freaky Dr. Z, rivals that of Stephen's own list of duties to be taken up once again. So it's like, ooh, that's kind of cool to have Wong. Like, normally you'd see them in a thing like Wong just disappeared for an untold amount of time and then popped back up, but this is great because he's actually doing things and having his own stories. But of course, the generators are leaking, and we see that it starts affecting Wong. And Dr. Z's like, take that! All that time you had me in prison, I was planning this. I'm going to open every mine in Birmingham, starting with you two fascists. And, of course, Wong starts talking to him. You believe that you can raise up humanity with your psychedelic alchemy, but to forcefully open the third eyes of 1 million people will cause untold death and destruction. Yeah, that's the thing. It's like, okay, your goal isn't the most horrendous thing, but the way you're doing it is. And then, of course, Pandora can't get a beat on him. It's like, oh, God. And it's funny because Wong's like, I've spent my whole life around magic. I believe that your ideas are right. There's much that humanity has to gain by wider recognition of the magical world. By the expansion of consciousness, great strides could be made towards peace, unity, and empathy. But not like this. People must be given the choice. People must be offered such an opportunity and safety, not while driving down the motorway. Yeah, Wong's spitting it right. Not everyone has the training I've had since birth, as he, of course, brings up that he is able to get out of the hallucinations. And he's like, I can and will stop you, but how I do it is up to you. I don't understand. You're just going to hit me and put me back in prison. And he's like, I could, and if I did hit you, you would never forget it. But that is the old wand, and I want to represent a new wand. An organization dedicated to bettering humanity, a goal you share, whatever your methods. So instead of violence and destruction, why not become the third agent of Wand? And that's really cool. I love that. That is a great... It shows that Wong is open to giving other chances to people, to doing things in a different kind of way, and seeing how they work out. Because then we go shortly to Wand's mobile HQ, Athena, and that they had recruited Dr. Z. And it's like, all right. And of course, Wong is telling Pandora he's not interested in preserving the status quo. Need to make the world better. It's like, yeah. And then of course, joining forces at last. And so much energy could have been working together. And then of course they start seeing their crystal ball, saving her. It's like, that's the ID code of an informant I placed in Agamon's palace in his Gobi Desert territory. I wonder what they have to show me. And then they go, oh, as we then switch over and we see that they are now on to that he is dead. It's like, that's not good. That's going to cause some drama. It's like, yes, it will. And that is the end of all the stories in this. And I'm like, yeah, I love Doctor Strange. And I've loved the creative team that was going on with Clea as Strange. And I'm glad that we don't have that kind of thrown away. We have a continuation of it with it, even though Steven is back. I don't feel that either of them's getting shortchanged here. We see them working together and going through their character moments and their differences. And Wong is doing the same thing with Pandora and doing stuff to build up Wand, an organization to help deal with these mystical threats. That's a very good thing. I do like where this is going and where this is kind of laying foundations for stories to come. And it's just really, really well done. I like the art. I like the stories. And I think this is a very good issue 1 that if you are interested in Doctor Strange, that this would be a great jumping on point. And we're getting close to the legacy numbering. We're at 427 right now. We'll be getting to 450. And it just... I would definitely recommend this if you want to check it out and be like, if what I said so far doesn't really interest you, that's cool. That's cool. But if you want to dip your toes in the kind of the magical side of Marvel, I think that this would be a good kind of place to do it, because it's got the lighthearted aspects of the magic and the darker kind of ones, because there's other ones that you deal with that's like Ghost Rider, that's kind of darker and everything like that, and deals with more kind of heavier kind of stuff. Not that Doctor Strange doesn't. Sometimes the best kind of stuff that works with Doctor Strange is dealing with those dark moments as well. But this has more of a balance kind of thing if you don't want to get into the heavy kind of stuff of Ghost Rider. So I really enjoyed this. I can't wait to see what shenanigans are going to ensue and how the death of this Sorcerer Supreme of the Purple Dimension will affect and change things going forward. So those are my opinions on the issue. Tell me what you guys think in the comments below. If you liked it, if you didn't like it, if you agree with me, if you disagree with me. Also like and subscribe, and I hope you have a good day.